look at my eyes. I did not sleep enough. Um, yeah, there's. I have a pet peeve, and it's called human stupidity. And my hair being a mess. Ponytail, anyone? So, ponytail magic. Ponytail is magic. Anyways, so there's this thing called stupidity, which I define as basically. Let's just look up the correct definition. What is stupidity? There's usually I would define it as like um, fallacious thinking and like just the inability to problem solve. Stupidity, behavior that shows a lack of good sense or judgment, the quality of being stupid or unintelligent. Okay, well, what is intelligence? So stupidity is the opposite of intelligence. Intelligence is the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. Huh. The collection of information of no, that's a different intelligence. Acquire knowledge and skills. Now, I thought intelligence had more to do with problem solving and analytical abilities and cognitive abilities and like thinking your way through things and sifting information through your mind so that your train of thought can form a valid opinion of something that you're analyzing. You're processing information to reach a valid conclusion. And with stupidity, you do not reach a valid conclusion. Now, I play a lot of team-oriented games, and in these team-oriented games, it's very team-reliant. So, if I'm a tank, I might rely on a healer when I make a certain aggressive decision, and my DPS might rely on me to make that aggressive decision when he requires me to do so. But if my healer is inadequate, I might get punished for synergizing with my DPS, and then I get punished by the healer because the healer does not meet my expectations and might, like, I don't know, decide to do absolutely nothing and jump and, like, heal someone who's full health rather than the person taking damage. Or not use their ability. So, like the in-game spell, that ability. So, I'm going to teach everyone here how to not be stupid. Uh, so just the way to not be stupid is self-reflection. So everyone has their own visualization of their self, whether it's a mystical, supernatural, immortal ghost, or whether it's a cluster of neurons, or whether it's a manly man, or a feminine woman, or an independent, diligent, hard-working uh, bread earner. I mean, everyone has their own self-image. And maybe if you've taken biology, you have a more holistic, reductionist view of your, not holistic, but a more reductionist view of how your body functions, how your thoughts function, how the brain functions, how neurons work. Um, Maybe if you study um, AI research, you might, or if you're a programmer, you might understand a little bit about logic and how thinking works and how we form thoughts and how computers form ideas or logical arguments, logical statements, and how our brain, how our train of thought can form logical statements and how we can have logical opinions and factual opinions. And maybe if you interact with humans on a daily basis, you might also learn um, how our train of thought can form invalid opinions and fallacious arguments and untrue statements. Um, Now, some of this might be due to lack of information, but there's always an assigned value of error, of certainty. There's an uncertainty value. Now, with human brains, we often forget about uncertainty value, and we forget about moral relativism, I believe, descriptive moral relativism, the only kind of moral relativism that's valid, which is where people have differing subjective viewpoints. And, well, with perceptual control theory, we layer the brain into layers of priorities. And so the base, or layers of, yeah, priorities. And this is the framework of our thought structure. And when we have at the base layer, it's just the holistic, like biological level, like your sight, your touch, sense of smell. I don't really have a sense of smell. Um, and like hearing. And then maybe above that, you would be able to process that, and you would prioritize interpreting human words as uh, like words. Like, so you'd prioritize understanding the words when you're listening to someone speaking or singing. You might prioritize being able to sift through your vision to pick out letters, to read words, and so um, I don't think that's actually. No, I'm exaggerating. Those aren't priorities. Those are that would be knowledge, but you do prioritize applying that knowledge because often when you want to understand something, so if you wanted to understand what I was saying, you might start by listening to the words. If you were reading a book, you might try to understand it by reading the words. Now this is maybe too holistic, but then at higher and higher levels, you might prioritize a long-term ability to receive affection from your significant other or loved one. Um, you might prioritize a long-term ability to sustain yourself with food. You might prioritize the ability to earn money in the long term. You might prioritize the ability to have a high quality of life in the short term. You might prioritize the ability to de-stress in the short term, or to um, eat or sleep or have a tasty meal or have fun. But it's more complex than that because all of these priorities clash with one another. So we all assign them a certain weight, and the way that AI which try to mimic humans are programmed, uh, they are programmed with deep Q, where um, their learning and problem solving and decision making is oriented towards achieving a higher value of Q. So let's just assign Q as um, not quality of life, but like similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Let's qualify Q as fulfillment. So everybody wants fulfillment, not just spiritual, but also physical and mental. And you want your physical well-being, your mental well-being, and whatever you're motivated to acquire in life. All of those things combined lead up to your Q value. Now, that's really an oversimplification because we're a lot more complex and irrational than that. But all of these desires that we do have will do anything that motivates us. Is the analogy is it's like having a higher value of Q, and for the computer program, the reason it's motivated to do things is to acquire a higher value of Q, where Q equals 1 is like nirvana, and Q equals 0 is like the pits of hell. I don't know. You want a higher Q value. And you can sacrifice, you can say like, okay, I won't go out with my friends to drink tonight because I have a test tomorrow. Like you can sacrifice stuff in the short term and the long term, but what's going on in your head? All these priorities, and you have these branching switches, like branching train tracks, not train tracks, like a branching flowchart of all of these decisions you make, and your decisions branch out like a flowchart. Just like in a program, when you're coding, you can have this code, and you have these if and else then statements, and the code can branch to different cases. And so you'll have a scenario like, should I eat this hummus? And you can say yes or no, or you can also go through the problem solving process of, am I hungry? Yes. Is the hummus still good to eat? Yes. Do I want to eat hummus? No. Does hummus taste good? No. Or on the flip side, I might answer, I love hummus, but I'm making a video right now, and so there's this conflict. I'm making a video, but I want to eat this hummus. I actually have hummus. And there's this conflict. Do I eat the hummus or not? Do I have a spoon? How much work would it be to get the spoon? Can I eat while making the video? Oh my god. But would it be weird if I ate hummus while making a video? And like, what if I have to reach over and get the spoon? What if the spoon is dirty? Ah, and like all of these things. What will people think of me if I eat hummus while using a spoon which already has bits of avocado on it? Will they think I'm gross? And so all of these, we liken it to the branching flowchart. But it's more than a flowchart. It's this intermingled, multidimensional web of priorities. So all of these can be represented mathematically through perceptions and vectors and assigned priorities to each mental state. And we want certain mental states. I want a mental state of being able to clarify my idea to you, the viewer. But I also want a mental state of being satiated with this nourishing, delicious hummus, and also of tasting the hummus and eating the hummus and just chewing it and yum. It's like the flavor and the satisfaction of acquiring that nourishment and improving my physical well-being for the short term, which is necessary for survival. So at some point, I will eat this hummus. That's the decision I've come to. But first, I will continue conveying ideas. And if I reach the point that I can reach the hummus whilst conveying an idea, then I will eat the hummus. That's an example. But however you want to visualize yourself, this applies to video games now, and decision making and problem solving and analyzing problems. So how do we improve ourselves? Self-reflection. I went through all of those thoughts when wondering whether I should eat this hummus while making a video, and these are the variables, the scenarios, the if, then, and what if statements that I had to weigh. When I was a child, my parents would say, never ask what if. Never think about what if. Never. My my dad was and is an authoritarian Christian. And whenever I visit his family, they slaughter a beast. Well, they pay someone to slaughter a beast, and then they eat it. And they say, never question God's word. In a more feminine tone, because that would be my grandmother I'm imitating. And never question God's word. I don't know, she's older than me, but anyways, somewhere in between those two tonalities. Tonality is not the right word. Anyways, but I do ask, well, what if people thought poorly of me whilst I was eating this hummus and making the video? And I was brought up not to have a self-image, never to look at myself in the mirror, because if I made eye contact with myself, then the demons who are sucking energy from my soul would possess me. So, and that was my mom teaching me that. But then you get other people who give you more nice advice, like math teachers and science teachers who say, actually I forget, but who teach you to, oh yeah, who say, well, they didn't, I'm going to paraphrase. They say, what they said was the mind is a muscle, you have to exercise it. But I'm going to paraphrase that and extrapolate to say, the knowledge we gain from self reflection gives us the awareness to renovate our mental triggers and our perceptual priorities to more effectively analyze information and form ideas. So we always have that train of thought running. Not always, but we do have a train of thought when we're judging what someone else is saying, and we're we're hopefully analyzing what we want to do and whether that's going to be effective at attaining our goals and priorities. And we have these weighted priorities, and sometimes when there's trauma or a problem, we uh, we we shift our priorities around a little. Like when it's nighttime, I might prioritize sleeping more highly than when it's daytime. Um, well, actually, that's more of a habit. But say perhaps someone who has never been outside before uh, will learn eventually to prioritize sleeping during the night more than during the day, right? Because we have like what, a 23-hour biological clock? Well, I certainly do. Or no, I think I have a 25-hour biological clock, which is a problem. Yeah, I think I have a 25-hour biological clock. Anyways, maybe 26 hours. I actually regret breaking my sleeping schedule. I would go to sleep each day at the same time, and now I don't, which is if I'm gonna become an insomniac at this rate, if I'm not already. I think I already am an insomniac. No, maybe it's the adrenaline because of my cold. Look at my eyes. It's like so yeah. That is logic. I hope I'm recording the video. So wow, look at that fan. Look at that, these walls. I need to there should be I need some like Windex, clean that stain on the. When I moved in, the stain was there, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go for the cheapest livable room I can get because I want to play lots of computer games for many years, and so I just picked the cheapest room. So it's not high quality production for the background. There's no green screen and shooting stars. Ba 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 ba. So because you can replace the green screen with a nice animated overlay. Like Shamtu has, or Jimmy Dore. Well, that's not even. Anyways, you probably don't know those two. I think I said everything I wanted to. Ah, yes, don't willfully embrace cognitive bias. Well, I mean, Rational Wiki lists cognitive biases, and there are quite a few, beginning with illusory superiority, and ending with just just willfully ignoring facts to justify an opinion based on an assumption that you've already made, like, I believe I am immortal and I will be reincarnated slash going to heaven slash whatever afterlife you want to have. That's the assumption. And then if we are shown proof that this is not the case, then, well, I will ignore said evidence because climate change is a Chinese hoax to weaken the American economy. Not really. That is a satire, but eh, hence why I say kappa when I do use sarcasm, so that the reverse Poe paradox does not apply, and that is also a cognitive bias, the Poe paradox. But the reverse Poe paradox is basically when you take someone's sarcasm at face value due to not being able to tell between fundamentalists and parodies. All right. So, this is the intelligent, eye glint, darkened eyebrows, wearing glasses, push up the bridge of the glasses. I'm so intelligent. Hmm. Hmm. No. So to be intelligent, you want to hone your instincts. You want to think clearly. You want to prioritize logic. So I dislike hypocrisy. So I do study what are these cognitive biases. When do I use cognitive bias? And what thought process led me to that decision? You can do self-analysis, self-reflection. Think back to when you made a mistake. Why did I make the mistake? What would have happened if I had more self-control or had made a better decision? Could I have made a better decision? And reverse engineer through that memory to bring back the critical point, the break-even point of what made me take that decision? Or rather, not what made me, but what thought process led to me to make this choice? By which process did I take my train of thought? No. Okay, rephrase. When I made this mistake, what thought process did my train of thought, myself, I, take to come to this conclusion? And how would things have been different if I had made a different decision? And then once that's all. That's self-reflection in a nutshell. And then once you understand, okay, this is my thought process, which takes me to a certain conclusion, which led to a mistake, then the next time you'll be aware when you're making that same uh, logic, when you're taking that same logic, when you're making that same form of processing information, when you're in that same scenario, you'll be able to be aware of what you're thinking. Like in The Wee Men by Pratchett, you'll be able to observe your own thoughts in real time as you're problem solving and making decisions. And that is how you become more intelligent. Reminiscible out. I'm proud of this video.